I'm lesbian, I'm gay. Yes, I'm lesbian, I'm gay, but do I subscribe to everything the lesbian and gay movement says? Do I always come out as a lesbian and gay person first before, say, I am a woman, or before I am a Jew, or before I am an American, or a citizen, or a philosopher? No. It's not the only identity. So these are communities where one belongs and one does not belong. And it seems to me I travel. I was never very good in school. I was what they call a problem child, a disciplinary problem. And I would speak back to the teachers, and I would not follow the rules. I would skip class. I did terrible things. And yet, I was apparently smart in some way, but I didn't understand myself as smart. I understood myself as strategic. One had to get through, one had to find one's way in the school, in the synagogue. And I didn't really like authority. So I went back to Beauvoir, Le Deuxième Sexe, and there I found this one passage, which is, of course, perhaps the most famous passage from Beauvoir, where she says that one is not born a woman, but rather becomes one. And I wrote something about this problem of becoming, and I wanted to know: does one actually ever become one, or is it that to be a woman is a mode of becoming without end, a mode of becoming that doesn't end, that has no end or goal? And then I thought, well, maybe you could say the same of gender more generally, that one is not born a man, but rather becomes one. Or perhaps one is born a male or female, but becomes something which is neither a man nor a woman. And it seemed to me that this notion of becoming, devenir, could lead to any number of directions. So I started, I suppose, to formulate a thesis that would later become the central argument of gender trouble. So I think that by the time I grew up, in the late 60s and early 70s, looking around me, trying to make sense of gender, I saw these extremely exaggerated notions of what gender was. But I think that these were notions of Hollywood gender that came through Jewish assimilation. And maybe gender trouble is actually a theory that emerges from my effort to make sense of how my family embodied those Hollywood norms, and how they also didn't. They tried to embody them, and then there was some way in which they couldn't possibly. And maybe, my conclusion was that anyone who strives to embody them also perhaps fails in some ways that are more interesting than their successes.
I must say that in my view, gender is always a failure. Everyone fails. And it's a very good thing that we fail.
But it became clear to me that I loved people. I didn't have a name. I didn't think of myself as heterosexual or homosexual. But as I became more passionately involved, especially with one or two young women, girls, at the age of 14, it dawned on me, it occurred to me that there was a word for this. But it was actually a sad moment when the word occurred to me. Because when the word lesbian occurred to me, maybe this is lesbian. It was a moment where the social stigma entered into my thinking, and I felt very condemned by the word. And I had fear of the word. Is this what I am? Is this the name of my passion? Will this condemn me to social exclusion? Will this destroy my passion? What I worry about is are the situations in which gender as a norm is exercised coercively. That is to say, there's a story that came out around, 8 years ago, of a young man who lived in Maine, and he walked down the street of his small town where he had lived his entire life. And he walks with what we call a swish, a kind of, his hips move back and forth in a feminine way. And as he grew older, 14, 15, 16, that swish, that walk became more pronounced, okay? And it was more dramatically feminine. And he started to be harassed by the boys in the town, and soon 2 or 3 boys stopped his walk. And they fought with him, and they ended up throwing him over a bridge, and they killed him. Okay. So then we have to ask, why would someone be killed for the way they walk? Well, why would that walk be so upsetting to those other boys that they would feel that they must negate this person, they must expunge the trace of this person, they must stop that walk no matter what. They must eradicate the possibility of that person ever walking again. It seems to me that we are talking about an extremely deep panic or fear, an anxiety that pertains to gender norms. And if someone says, you must comply with the norm of masculinity, otherwise you will die, or I kill you now because you do not comply, then we have to start to question what the relation is between complying with gender and coercion.